Now let's get started by discussing variables. And before we discuss variables, let's open a folder. And I'm sure that you have also opened this in Visual Studio Code. Make sure that you open a folder this time, because with folders we can cover modules and we can also store different files, a group of files, and that's very simpler to work with. So I am going to select this folder called R code. You can name it whatever you want to name it. It's not a big deal. So let's start with just naming this, let's call it app.python. Simple stuff. Now, before we get into understanding, make sure that you understand that Python programming language has a specific syntax that you have to follow. We will learn that syntax throughout this section, along with the programming principles that we said we were going to discuss. Now, variables, well, they're like a storage system, right? Variables are definitely like a storage system, like a pocket. Think of it like a pocket in which you can store, well, different stuff. You can, put candies in it, anything. So a variable just stores something. It's like a pocket. For example, there's an example of a variable. I can say x equals 2. Now, x is a variable that is storing a number in itself, and it's like a pocket. It's like a box that stores stuff. And now it's like a pocket that can store stuff. So you can store anything in these variables. By anything, I mean a data type. We'll get to know these data types soon, but for now, just thinking of numbers and strings is totally fine. Now, what is a number? Well, there you see, it's a number. Without anything, just straight out number you can store in a variable. But I also want to talk about strings, and strings are just group of characters. Think of it like that. But to represent a string, you need to use double quotations. So I can write a name, for example, John. John is a name now. Perfect. Now it's a group of letters, and you cannot write it like this. You don't want to write it like this. You can. It'll throw an error. It's a syntax error. To store a group of letters, you have to use double quotations. Now, as I said, we'll get to know other data types soon enough. For now, just think of numbers and strings. I can also store a decimal point number, 2.33. As I said, we'll discuss in the later video in much detail about these data types and how Python is able to convert them and all that stuff. So I can store a name, I can store age, Now, in the above example, you can see that in this example, you can see that there is this thing on the right and this thing on the left. On the left is the variable name. Variable name can be anything. Just don't start it from a a number. I can't write this. This is not a variable name. Make sure that it's in this kind of way you're writing it. And if there are two things, this is a convention in Python. For example, if I write first name, make sure there is a dash when there are two things you're representing. This is just convention. We will get to know these conventions more better. I can write anything. I can say, well, first name, and then I can use a number, but in the beginning I can't. I can also use an underscore. Just make sure that you do that. It's just a convention that I use first name as my variable name with a dash for 2 words in between. That's a convention, and that's a very important thing that you do. It's good for when someone else reads your code, they know that you are writing Python in a good way. Now I can write first name. I mean anyone, like Tommy. Tommy is my first name. All right. Well, now how do I access that? Well, it's very simple. You can access that by just writing this variable name right here. Now, how do I demonstrate that? How can I demonstrate this thing right here that I can access that? Well, there is a function called print function that prints anything I write. And it'll show to me that thing on the screen. So I can type first name and it'll show me on the screen. Now how do I run? You know very well. You can go into view and you can click terminal. This will turn on something, and I can just type in, and you can also do this thing where you can just type in, well, open in terminal, same stuff. Just type in Python app.py, full name, Tommy. Tommy is printed on the screen. I can similarly print simply simple strings too, right? My name is Rauf. That is totally possible as well. My name is Rauf. Now another thing I want to show you is, what if I don't want to run this line of code? If I do this thing right here, like I did here, I can use this hash. This sign is used as a comment, and comment in code is very important. So whatever I comment out, this thing now is commented out. Now Python will not read this, and if I run this now, only this will be printed, because Python ignores whatever is in the comments section, in the comments, in the commented form, wherever you comment out. These comments are very important when you're telling another developer, because when we write code, we are of course writing that code to run, but we're also writing that code for anyone else, because it's almost like English. It's for humans to understand. If you don't want humans to understand, then you can just write it in ones and zeros, right? So that's the reason why we comment. Very important to tell another developer what is going on in your code. Now that's all I want to talk about for the variables. They just store information. We use the assignment operator, which is the equal sign, single equal sign, and that's it. Don't worry about it, anything else. I want to give you an exercise though. Just try to store your name in a variable and just print it. That's it. Just try to store your name in a variable and print. See how that goes. I'm pretty sure you can do it. It's not that hard, but it's good to have your hands going on fluently with Python as early as possible, so you get to learn stuff. I'll see you in the next video.